Hi, my name is Aryan. This is my YouTube series for absolute beginners in SolidWorks, and you're watching episode 3. So if this is the first time you're clicking on this video, make sure to go back and start it from the beginning, because the main ingredient that I keep focusing on, which is a key factor for absolute SolidWorks beginners to fully comprehend and understand SolidWorks, is one thing only. And that's sequence. I don't want you to just start watching this video from the 3rd episode or the 2nd or whatever. In the first 2 episodes, we started to create a 10 by 10 cube. Then we started to round its edges up and added a through all hole in the body of the cube. We adjusted it from 10 by 10 by 10 to 10 by 10 by 20. We changed the color of one of its sides, and in this video, we want to proceed and build upon that. So there are a couple of things that I told you I'm not going to cover, because otherwise the video will be too lengthy. And if you are serious about learning SolidWorks, the videos that I'm putting on YouTube are a little bit shallow and not that well explained in depth. It's about the duration that I put on the video on YouTube. So if you're serious about learning SolidWorks, make sure to click on the top right corner of the screen on that I information button, or go to the description below the video, click on the link, and go watch everything on my website, which is already existing, but it's much longer. So if you're serious about learning SolidWorks, definitely, you don't need to watch these videos on YouTube. You can watch them more in depth on my website, and it's free. These are the things that we want to do in this video. We want to cover the sketch relations on the surface a little bit, because the cube that we made in the first 2 episodes is not fully defined. We can still change it. And we want to cover a new tool, which is Revolved Boss or Base. And we want to combine these tools together. That is Extruded Boss and Revolved Boss. And we go on a limb and make a spontaneous model. I don't know what it will be yet, but it will be something that covers both features in it, Revolved Boss and Extruded Boss. And as always, your questions about what you don't like about these videos goes in the comment section below. Don't forget that. Tell me what you don't want to see in these series. Let's go. All right, so we want to pick it up where we left it off. And in this video, you might notice that my navigation is much smoother. And it is because I'm using a 3D Connection Enterprise Space Mouse. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to get acquainted with this device, understand its pros and cons, so I can make a review later on in a different video for you. So don't worry if your rotation is not as smooth. You could still work with your mouse. This is how I can rotate using my normal cat mouse, and this is how I can rotate using my space mouse. Okay, this is what we made last time in the 2nd episode, and I'm going to make you aware of one very strong and important factor, which is fully defining your sketch and your objects in general. If I select on one of these faces, let's just say the red one, I will notice this arrow. There is an arrow normal to the surface, usually pops as orange if you're using later versions of SolidWorks. However, all colors in SolidWorks are customizable. And if I drag that, you see the cube doesn't change in dimension. It just moves, while that throughout hole stays where it is. Why is that? If you don't know why that is, there is no point in just trying to learn to model more complicated stuff, because this is the ABCs that you need to understand in order to thrive in SolidWorks. All right, let me tell you why. The reason the body of the cube can move, but the hole is fixed, is because the base sketch we used to create the hole is fully defined, while the base sketch we used to create the body of the cube is underdefined. Let me show you. So I'm going back to the design tree over here and going to cover all these 3 features that I made or used to make this cube with the hole. We have Boss Extrude. I just clicked on it one time and you see this is the body of the cube. We have used Fillet, which has rounded the outer edges of the cube. You see it highlighted in blue. And we have Extruded Cut, which we used to create the throughout hole in SolidWorks. All right, let's just open the first combo by clicking on this arrow over here, and we see the base sketch we used for the cube, sketch number 2. One click on it, the pop-up menu appears here, and I can select edit sketch from this menu, and it brings me back to the base sketch. We see that it's 20 by 10. Ignore this equation symbol here. I was just playing around. All right. So we see the color of our sketch is in blue. Blue is a color-coded definition of under-defined sketch, which means your sketch is not 100% defined and there are variable solutions to this rectangle. So what dimensions are needed usually to define a rectangle? Is true. You need only 2. You need one height and one width. A 2D rectangle does not need more than 2 dimensions to be defined. However, that only defines the geometry and the size of your rectangle. It does not define its location, exact coordinates of each corner, right? Because this cube, for all we care, could be 10 by 20, but it could be here, or it could be here. That's why it is still in blue, and that's why it's not fully defined. So one way would be to drag one of its corners and drop it on the coordinate system, which is actually a fixed anchor point. And when I do that, the whole sketch turns into black, which is the SolidWorks color code for fully defined. A fully defined sketch is the ideal state. You want as beginners to have your sketch on at all times. So let me repeat that. When you start learning SolidWorks as beginners, you don't want to proceed to create a 3D model before you have fully defined your 2D sketch. Do that and you are risking leaving lots of gaps in your knowledge. You're gonna learn SolidWorks with a lot of cavities and flaws in your base fundamentals, and later on you're gonna face lots of complicated issues that all root from not fully defining your sketch. Later on, when you reach the pro level, fine, you don't really need to fully define it all the time, but now you should. All right. Having said that, there are different ways to fully define your sketch, and these ways are absolutely essential. It's not optional. It's not like based on your taste and personality. Oh, I'm going to use this way to fully define it. Oh, I'm going to use that. No, there are 2 main ways to fully define your sketch, and it all goes down to your design intent that decides which one of these 2 ways to use to fully define your sketch. And I want to review both these ways in this video. Okay, so let me Control Z to go one step back to where my sketch was only underdefined and do it again. I told you if I drag this on a fixed point, which is the coordinate system is always a fixed point, the origin, the whole thing goes fully defined. But we don't want to do it that way. There is this thing called the design intent. Design intent is a simple factor. Let me make an example in a new canvas and we will come back to this, okay? So keep that on your mind. We are going away for a short second to explain design intent and we will come back. So let's just say we're gonna have a sheet, a square of 100 by 100. By the way, guys, I'm using something called mouse gestures. That's why I can quickly turn my mouse into smart dimensions or turn it into circle or turn it into rectangle. Don't be confused and forget that. It's not the point here. At some point I will cover that for you, or if you're in a rush, go on my website and learn that already. But this is not the point. Stay focused on the design intent. We are talking about the design intent. We have a sheet of 100 by 100 and the idea is to have a circle exactly in the middle, in the center of the sheet with a diameter of 25. So I'll assign a diameter of 25 to this circle. What are my options to place it exactly on the center? Option number 1 is to keep using smart dimension, and I select the edge of my square, then I select the center. Obviously that mode turns into distance and I just assign 50 from this side, And again, from this side, I'll assign 50. So now our circle is exactly in the center of our sheet. We can agree on that, right? Because it's 50 from the left, 50 from the bottom, and the sheet is 100 by 100. That's why it's in the middle. And I'm gonna place it on the origin so everything goes fully defined in black. Fine, everything is good. But later on, there is a new iteration needed, and we decided to, just like in the previous video, turn one of these dimensions into 200. Now, since the objective was to have the circle on the center of the sheet, we're gonna have to go back and adjust this dimension as well. We're gonna have to change this into 100 to keep pushing it in the middle. Now, again, there is a new iteration, that's fine. But let's just say there's gonna be tons of more iterations. Let's just say 3 or 4. Every time you change these two, you're gonna have to go back and change these dimensions for the circle. And that is why for this design intent, which is having the circle on the center of the sheet, using smart dimensions to fully define your sketch is not the right choice. That is why we turn into the second option to fully define our sketch apart from the smart dimension, and that is using sketch relations. Sketch relations is a very deep topic, is really fundamental, and it is about 10 minutes if I want to explain it in detail perfectly. But since I have done it already on the website for free, if you want to watch it in that detail, click on that button right there, right now, go watch it. But if you don't have time for that, you can stay on this video as well, no problem. We just scratch the surface and move on. Good. I just deleted the 2 smart dimensions, and my circle just went from fully defined, which was in black, back to being underdefined, which is blue. Now, I have to use sketch relations to set it, to fix it on the center of the sheet, right? So how do I do that? First, I right click on this side and click on select midpoint. Then I'm gonna hold Control key on my keyboard, and I'm going to select the center of the circle while still holding the Control key. Now at this point, I let go of the Control key. Look at here. The feature manager switched to property manager, and we see the selected entities are point 1 and point 15, which are these 2 points, ready to be assigned a new sketch relations to. What we have here, I want these 2 points obviously to be in a vertical relation, and SolidWorks has guessed it correctly. As you see, vertical is written in bold, while the other 3 options are written regular. So one click on vertical makes these 2 points to be in a vertical relations at all times. Look, I cannot move this to left or right, only up and down. Now, if I do this one more time from the side, right click, midpoint, Control key, center, let go of the Control key, and this time horizontal is bold, select. Now, since this point has to be in the horizontal relation with the midpoint of this edge and the vertical relation with the midpoint of this side, it has no option but to be fully defined and black. Now, if I change this to whatever dimension, 100, the circle moves with them. Why? Because the midpoint adjusts itself dynamically and the center of the circle goes with it. So for this design intent, using sketch relation is a much better option than using smart dimensions. And these small details, knowing when to use what, makes the difference between a professional and efficient SolidWorks user and a normal SolidWorks user who has learned these subjects randomly here and there, or even haven't learned them at all. Now, enough with the design intent, let's switch back to our example. I told you we want to have this cube fully defined. One way would be to just drag and drop this point on the origin, makes everything go black. But this is not what I would recommend to you, because that would be a cardinal sin in the world of SolidWorks by my standards. And I will tell you why. If I select, let's just do this, let's just do it the wrong way, continue, and I will explain what downsides and what cons comes with fully defining your rectangle this way. That is putting one corner on the origin and pick the lazy way. I'm going to rebuild this sketch. The issue that this way of fully defining your rectangle brings with it is having the three default planes that we had on the design tree over here: front plane, right plane, and top plane on its sides. Look, the front plane, which we see is this one, is centered in the middle of my component, which is the ideal way. The top plane, however, is on one side, and the right plane is also on another side. Having your planes on a flat surface on the side of your cube is like wearing a hat on top of a hat. It's a pure waste of your resource. It's a pure waste of your planes. Why? A lot of times when you're modeling, you need to mirror stuff. You need to have a cross section. You want to look at your cross section. So you need to have a plane in the center of your component. And if you fully define your sketch that way, you put at the very least two of your three default planes out of the equation. They're just basically useless. I cannot use this right plane to look at my cross section. Why? Because this plane doesn't cut anything in half. It just slides over the surface of the cube. It doesn't add any value to your model. And later on, if I wanted to add something on this surface and mirror it in on the other one, I would need a plane in the middle to do this mirroring procedure. So what can I do to fix this? I will go back again to the base sketch of my cube, which you see is exposed on the design tree here. It was a sketch 2. One left click on it, the pop-up appears. Sorry, one click, pop-up, edit sketch. And I'm going to select this point, which was set on the origin. Once I do that, the feature manager gives its turn to property manager. And here I can adjust the existing relations, which was coincident. That point and the origin are in a coincident sketch relation, and I press delete on my keyboard to get rid of that. The whole sketch goes to the state of underdefined. I'm going to show you how you should be fully defining your rectangle ideally. We want to, just like in the previous example, right click, select midpoint, hold control, select the origin, make him go vertical. Again, right click, midpoint, control, origin, horizontal. Now we have our sketch fully defined and the origin is on the center of your rectangle. Let's rebuild and check the results. First of all, our hole, which was set on the origin, automatically is in the right place. So we had that fixed. That's one side. Now our front plane was already on the center of our object, which was fine. Our top plane is now cutting our object in half as well. So is the right plane. So we have 3 out of 3 planes cutting our cube in half. In case we need to do any mirroring, in case we need to look at the cross section from different angles, we now have 3 options. We don't need to go an extra mile and create custom planes, place it on the center, and then do those stuff. We are now 2 steps ahead of those people who didn't fully define their sketch this way and now have to create new planes, which first of all takes longer, increases the risk of making a mistake, and slows down their PC as they keep doing this because their design tree is growing and growing unnecessarily. You don't want to keep adding features here. It only confuses everyone and yourself. You want to keep it short, concise, and efficient. And this is the most efficient way of fully defining a rectangle. All right. This is something, by the way, nobody would tell you. No teacher, no whatever. And I have covered this common mistake, which is what I just covered, as well as how to fully define your sketch completely in detail on the website. So go on the description after watching this video, click on that and watch it. It's free. Just spend 30 minutes, learn all those mistakes and build the right habit today. It will set you on the right path with the maximum pace you can proceed your learning. All right. I told you in the intro that in this video, we also want to cover Revolved Boss or base. Let's do that and build on top of this. I want to turn this into a hammer, something like Thor has. I don't remember its name. It has a name, his hammer. And if you are a fan of comics, you can maybe type its name in the comment section below. I want to use this hole as a placeholder for the handle of this hammer. So how do we do that? Obviously, one way would be, and in this case, the right way would be to select this edge and turn it into a sketch and extrude it all the way down to create this handle, which is a cylinder. But since I am going to use this tool, which is Revolved Boss, for the sake of this example, I'm gonna take the suboptimal way to only show you and focus on the purpose of this tool. I'm sorry, I just clicked a little bit ahead. Normal to fit. All right, I'm working with the 3D connection on my left hand, trying to get acquainted to the shortcut. So first of all, I would like to look at the cross section of my hammer so I can see the hole in the center. And that is exactly why top plane is in the right place right now. See, I can select top plane and click on section view over here and voila, we have it. All right, again, I want to select top view, activate sketch and go to rectangle and draw a rectangle from the center, from the midpoint that you see over here. One click, and then I'm gonna go all the way down. I don't know how long I wanted the handle to be, but the diameter is fixed. Smart dimension 125, it's fine. It's almost fully black except this last edge over here, as you see, because the height of the handle is not fully defined. So we want to do that right now, and that is using Smart Dimension again, assign a height to it. If it's 21, I want it to go to 31. That is fine. Now we have a fully defined sketch and I want to rotate it along its center axis or this left edge. I go to the Features tab. No need to rebuild the sketch, although I can, but in case of Revolve, you can keep it in the sketch mode. No problem. Click on Revolved Boss or Base, and all it needs from you is to select an axis of rotation. So in this case, my axis of rotation will be this edge. Just one click on it, and this is the preview. If you don't know what's happening, allow me to change direction 1 from 360 degrees to 270 degrees so you see what's happening. Look, this is now 3/4. I'm gonna leave it at this angle and keep adding to the angle, see what happens. It's rotating this rectangle along its axis, and I keep adding to it until it goes to 360. It cannot go more than 360, by the way. Like this, and click OK. Now you might be wondering why you still get half a circle. A lot of people forget that when they started drawing this handle, they activated the section view over here. It is still active. If you want to see the full thing, just deactivate it. Now this is your hammer, and that was Revolved Boss, including Extruded Boss. All right, I'm gonna stop this video at this point and give you some extra points. All right, at this point, I wanna walk you through that free video that I told you. So this is the page that you will go to if you click on the link below in the description. You come here, you click on register now, add your full name and email, and you have to give the consent, otherwise it wouldn't work. You sign up free, and then you will be going to a different room, which is the webinar room, For 1 hour, you'll learn all these mistakes that I just covered. These are only 1 or 2 of them, and there are 8 more, and you will watch it. At the end, you also get free access to a mini course, and you will learn a lot of cool stuff. We just came to the end of this episode, guys, and if you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button right now and the bell button icon, because the new episodes are coming and you don't want to miss it. It's about the sequence. Also, if you haven't watched my webinar, which is free, and all you have to do is to just click on the link in the description below and register and watch it for free. And at the end, I'll give you free access to my mini course as well. Just click on the link below and go watch it. All right, I'm Aryan, and I see you soon.